Episode 42, 10 Ways to Murder a Panic Attack.
You're listening to the very best podcast in the world on health, wealth, and happiness. Please remember to leave a review and share with all your friends and family. And here is your host, Lars Hilser.
Welcome to episode 42. And in today's episode, we are going to learn 10 ways to murder a panic attack. And you're probably thinking, man, the dude must be pretty bloodlusty after killing bad habits and inhibiting memories and so on and so forth. Well, truth be told, there are problems, and the more colorful you attack them, the more effective you become in resolving them. Well, let's not say problems, let's say issues, because, there are problems which really can't be identified as such. Long story short, this episode is about panic attacks. And while I haven't really been subject to one, I found the concept rather ridiculous because I was being ignorant. And a friend of mine introduced me to the concept of a panic attack and explained to me what it is and how it feels, how shitty it feels, how it inhibits her life, how it keeps her from developing as the way she wants to. And I thought, holy shit, for me, this was like like a disease for the proletariat to become, this diva concept of, I'm having a panic attack. That was what I connected to it. And no, it's something entirely different. I'm not going to go into the details because those of you who are affected are probably interested more into resolving the issue. And that's what we're going to do in this episode. Now, to get started, I am, this is a disclaimer. I'm not a psychiatrist, nor am I a psychologist, nor do I have any education in this field. I have a very profound knowledge of the human mind, just because it was a peeve of mine. No, is that a peeve? I don't know. I had very great interest in the human mind. This came with my training in the insurance sector, in the financial sector, but specializing on insurance, where you get sales trainings, and they tell you what they want you to know, but they don't really go into the details. Therefore, one of my life's excursions was into figuring out how NLP works, and how concepts of hypnosis work, and thereby tripping into the entire use of mind-altering drugs, and so on and so forth. And so I have not a deep knowledge, but a substantial knowledge of the human mind, how it works, etc., etc. This gave me access to understand, it helped me understand what this friend of mine was trying to tell me on how she feels when she is having a panic attack. And so I got in touch with friends of mine back from that time who have a background, for instance, in psychology. One of them is a very successful NLP practitioner. And I know you've heard probably a lot of stuff about NLP, that it's witchcraft and so on and so forth, but it's got significant potential to help people if applied correctly. It's a knife, it's a two-sided sword, if you will. You can do a lot of bad with it, but there's a damn amount of good that you can do with these techniques. So I got in touch with them and said, hey, I found this list, how to how to kill a panic attack. I think that was the verbal jargon that I found. And I reviewed it with them and said, okay, look, is this something that is worth speaking about on a podcast show? And they were like, yeah, because there are so many people who are subject to panic attacks that it's really insane. And the number that they mentioned, I did, honest to God, forget it, and I didn't write it down, but it was significant. Now, a lot of people are good at hiding it, and that's really something that you shouldn't do, because it kind of manifests into different things inside your mind and subsequently inside your body. So it's very important, or the go-to approach is actually to try to get the panic attacks away and out of your life, and to make them not as effectful, to make them not so effective or so negatively effective on your body, to reduce the negative effects on your body. That's the thing I guess I wanted to outline. And in another episode, probably later on, because I'm still reviewing and researching, we're going to go into how to kind of remove panic attacks out of your life altogether. If you have a certain stimulus, I need you to go back to the, I forget the number of the episode that we did, where I think it was the 5th episode, which was about erasing inhibiting memories. That's actually an NLP technique, which I learned and which I have used to kind of calm myself down in certain situations. And so, yeah, without further ado and without wasting any more of your time, let's be result-oriented and go into the 10 ways to actually murder a panic attack. Very bloody, shoot it, kill it, dice it, you know where this is going. So what we have to understand is that panic attacks are triggered by, are triggered in certain people, or are triggered in everyone, by certain events or whatever it is at the end of the day. It can be a scent or a smell. It can be a noise, a sound. It can be, anything that you can really sense. And so the basic instinct that results from that in these people is fight, flight, or fright. And for most people, it's fright, and therefore that's the foundation for the panic attack. Now, it's very important to understand that you can counter those instincts by regaining control of your body. This actually includes the hormones that are then kind of responsible for actually inducing the panic attack. And before we actually start with the 10 ways to murder a panic attack, I think it's very important to, for yourself, understand what your triggers are, right? As I mentioned, this can be, a noise, a scent. It can be pretty much anything that you respond to. It can be, you drive a car, and for instance, you've had a car wreck. It can be that you were subject to physical violence, and it's a certain type of perfume or eau de cologne that somebody wears that reminds you of the situation, sends you down that road, et cetera, et cetera. So it's very important for you, for yourself, to determine the trigger that actually gets you, that sends you down this slope. And that's, of course, very individual, but it's important for you to really, really, really work that out. And again, I'm directing you back to episode 5, where I in detail, I think it's episode 5, look for erasing inhibiting memories. That's the episode that I'm talking about. So, number 1, of the 10 ways to murder a panic attack is to use deep breathing. Hyperventilation increases fear. It's a natural, it's a remnants of when you run away from something, you need as much air as possible. That's why you start to hyperventilate, and all of your other routines in your body shut down. It's mainly about flight then in that case. And that's something very important to understand and to make yourself aware of, that you decrease your frequency of ventilation, of breathing, your frequency of breathing, in that it will calm your body down, because hyperventilation, for instance, is another indicator for shortness of breath, which may yet increase the severity of the panic attack. Number 2 is you need to acknowledge that you're having a panic attack, and you have to be honest about it. All right, you have to be honest to yourself. Self-honesty is paramount in getting rid of this thing. Is that you are having a panic attack, right? So number 1. Number 2, it's not bad. It'll go away, and it's not threatening. A lot of cases, right? Let's assume you've been subject to physical violence and you respond to a certain perfume that somebody's wearing while you're walking through the mall. While it will send you back to that, the trigger will send you back to that previous situation. The situation is not the same. The person is different, and they're not going to attack you, right? For instance. That's the acknowledging part, that being honest to yourself, saying, okay, listen, I'm sent back by my conscious and subconscious mind, but this is a different situation. The person wearing that perfume or whatever is not going to hurt me, and that's where you need to be honest and focused to then alleviate the intensity. Number 3 is to close your eyes. A lot of attacks are triggered by visual stimulants, or, for instance, also by a flooding of impressions. When your senses go when your senses go on overload, with a lot of attacks being triggered by visual stimulants, the natural reaction is to close your eyes, to block out that trigger, and to help you get out of the panic attack that way, if your trigger can be determined as visually stimulated. Number 4, practice mindfulness. Now, this can cause a feeling of detachment and separation from your surrounding. If you, it makes you aware of where, when, and how you really are at the present moment. Again, a lot of triggers are based on an event in history, and if you make yourself aware that you are in the here and now rather than in the event that caused the trigger to substantiate, you'll be able to then detach yourself from the situation, get out of the situation, be in the now, and thereby make the panic attack less severe. Number 5 is find a focus object. And that's actually to select an object that's close to you, and to scrutinize it until you know every detail about it. Describe it to yourself, if this is something, for instance, I don't know, remember the movie Inception, where everybody had one of these tokens. That's perhaps a way for you to get your mind off the panic attack. That's the real goal behind it, right? You want to focus so intensely on this physical object that that all the other stimulants that are in your mind kind of numb down, and that the trigger, therefore, or the panic attack resulting from the trigger, reduces significantly. There's another one, number 6, to use muscle relaxation techniques. Tension has to be reduced to snap out of the attack, and that's important to understand. If you get control back of your body, the attack will then kind of ease away also, and with the tension. Now, we have to do a short excursion. If you think of historically and what your body was actually made for, probably about 250,000 years ago was and has evolved not really much since then, is that if you are in a life-threatening situation, many things happen. First of all, a very huge cocktail of hormones is sent in your body. All non-life essential things happening in your body are just dead. They are killed, and the most prevalent, the most dominant thing people will do in a situation like that is to flee out of the situation, right? So your muscles cramp up because you need your muscles, because you need to get out of the situation. You need to run, probably for a very long time, which will lead to hyperventilation, which will lead to, your body just shutting down everything but getting the fuck out of that situation. So you've, for instance, seen that people can really run if they're scared faster than any athlete can a lot of times. And to their ability, of course, to their physical ability. Yeah, that's there. A lot of things happen in the body. You can look this up. It's not part of today's show, really. And getting the control back of your body is very important and takes a lot of practice to really master that. Number 7 is to picture your happy place, wherever that place may be. You have to know it. You have to know it by heart. Let me give you an example. I worked in the Maldives for a while of my life, and they had these, the most pristine beaches that you've ever seen. And while not my happy place, it is a family member's happy place. And that person can give you such a pristine, detailed report of how she really felt, what the smells were, what the sounds were, what the feeling was of the sand on her feet, and so on and so forth. And that's her happy place. And she goes there quite often. Not that there's a reason to, but she just enjoys it. And so that's something for you to really take into account as well, and to be ready to go to that happy place at a moment's notice. Now, going there at a certain level of intensity takes time, and it takes a lot of time to actually get to know your happy place to the amount of detail that you can just immediately snap in there. And like I said, if the beach is your thing, somewhere where you feel safe and happy, it's really about getting down to the most minute detail of how the bed sheets felt, or the towel felt that you were in, or if you were in a beach house, how the bed linen felt, and so on and so forth. So really scrupulous detail is required so that you can immediately go into that place and kind of distance yourself from the current situation. Number 8, engage in light exercise, which releases endorphins, and endorphins are the happy hormone, which will kind of make it easier for you to transition out of it, because your body is flooded with other hormones. And if you manage to release endorphins, or, do anything else that makes you happy, the same thing applies for the happy place, of course. If you release endorphins, then that will counter the panic attack as well. Number 9 is, I don't know. Will I mention it? Yeah, it says, keep lavender at hand. and don't use with medication because it can, cause drowsiness, etc. Lavender actually has a very positive and calming effect. But if lavender is not your thing and you have other things that really calm you down, then use that, for God's sake. Do check for counteractions, though, with meds that you're taking, for instance. That's one thing I read where I was like, will I keep it in? Will I? I don't know. For some people, it may really take the edge off. Last but not least, repeat your mantra is number 10. And again, I'm referencing Inception. It's kind of like a mantra that only you know and that nobody else is aware of. That kind of gets you to an elevated position, I guess, where you are superior to everyone around you, and it just calms you down. That's, another one of these calming aspects, and releases endorphins because, you do feel superior in the situation, which is insanely important and which is easily done. Let's get back to the example with the mall where you walk through and, you've been a victim of physical abuse, and some person walks by you wearing the same perfume. You have to get yourself out of that situation. And if you, whatever helps you there to get you back into reality and out of this actual panic attack, the better, and the mantra can actually make you feel superior because, you only know it. And on the other hand, you've got the relaxation that comes from the meditative aspect of kind of repeating your mantra. Those were, I think, our 10 steps to murdering a panic attack in cold blood and with lots of guts hanging out and so on and so forth. So in that sense, I hope for all it's worth, this will help you to manage your panic attacks. Again, it's very important to figure out precisely what your trigger is, and to then use the techniques that I mentioned. Not all of them, of course, because it's very difficult to remember, but find the one that actually works best for you. For the friend that I mentioned in the introductory part of the episode, for her it was the happy place, which always helped her out, and to realize that she is not in the situation which was her trigger, but was somewhere totally different at the time. That calmed her down to then realize that, it wasn't the situation repeating, but it was something entirely different and entirely harmless. And that's the thing that worked for her. Again, for all it's worth, take the one or the ones that work most successful for you if you have your next panic attack, and I hope that you do not. That's, I think, the most important thing. Again, I'm digging further into an episode on how to preemptively kill panic attacks altogether. For all it's worth, again, I'm referencing the episode where we erase inhibiting memories. That's another very important show. You should have another important episode to have a listen at. And in that sense, I'm gonna I don't know what I'm gonna do the rest of the day. No idea yet, but there's tons of stuff to do. So in that sense, I wish you a good night. And if you already had a successful day, if you haven't had a successful day, have a successful day. If you're going to bed, keep your hands above the blanket. Remember that, as always. And tomorrow, I haven't really decided on an episode yet, so be surprised. Peace out, ladies and gentlemen, boys, girls, L's and G's and B's and T's and Q's and I's and dots and dashes, and I shall hear you again tomorrow. I almost forgot. Please, anything feedback related, criticism or whatever, please send that to the very best podcast in the world at gmail.com. And now I am peace out. Have a good day. See you tomorrow.